Hello my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars news update. In today's video we're going to be talking about the Book of Boba Fett, some big details for Andor and more. As always my dear Megalorians, before we dive into it, please may I ask you to hit that big red subscribe button if you've not done so, and also be sure to give that bell a good old tickle to be alerted each and every time that I post new videos. So without much further ado and without any more jibber jabber, let's dive straight into it. So we're going to start with the Book of Boba Fett. Temuera Morrison has revealed some new details about the series in a recent interview. The New Zealand actor spoke to Rotten Tomatoes about his love for films and also the Book of Boba Fett. The interview starts with a bunch of questions about his career and then they get to Boba Fett. Rotten Tomatoes asked him, "Speaking of action, I do have to ask about Boba Fett." And Temuera Morrison initially answered, "My lips are sealed, I can't say too much about it." But when he was pressed on the matter and asked the question, will we see more of the Boba Fett we saw in The Mandalorian in the upcoming series? More specifically, the hand-to-hand fighting Boba. And this is where Temuera Morrison kind of spilled the beans. In his own words, he said, "Well, we can't say too much, but we're going to see his past and where he's been since the Empire Strikes Back. Someone pointed out that he's been kind of stuck in this one place and now's the time to actually go back in time and check out his journey and find out more about him." He continued by saying, "That's the advantage for me, we hadn't seen him do much, and along with Robert Rodriguez as director, we were able to sort of introduce him in a dynamic way. It was just an honor to be asked back." The show could have gone anywhere, it's a new time and I think they're looking for fresh faces. And of course again, it was either Dave Filoni or Jon Favreau probably meeting and then had a few discussions, and I was kind of quietly thrilled when I did do the meeting. He goes on to say that he saw a couple of concept photos on the wall and there was a guy that looked very similar to him. And then of course having a good meeting with those guys, they outlined a few things and it was just wonderful. So there is something really massive to take away from this. He says that we're going to see where Boba has been since the Empire Strikes Back. This essentially confirms what we thought about this series in that it's going to have a direct connection to the War of the Bounty Hunters comics, which explores his journey after Cloud City with Han in Carbonite. So it's not just going to explore where he's been since Return of the Jedi in the Sarlacc Pit, but it's going to go even further back. In this way, I think the show is going to be centered around flashbacks of Boba Fett's past, and as such, it would be really cool to see characters who have appeared in War of the Bounty Hunters, as well as Boba's past in general. I do also hope we get to see Cad Bane in some way, shape or form, and to tie off any story arcs which haven't been finished. Another thing to note is that Temuera Morrison emphasizes the secretive nature of the series. It's been really tight-lipped in terms of rumors and plot leaks. We barely had any. What we do know is that the series is going to be The Mandalorian Season 2.5 and have big cameos such as Din Djarin, Cobb Vanth, Greef Karga, and who knows, we might even see Grogu. Everyone's favourite green little friend. And look, as always, Temuera Morrison is an absolute gem of a person. I simply love the guy and it's so exciting to finally be getting a live-action Boba Fett-centric Star Wars series. So now my dear Megalorians, we're going to talk about Giancarlo Esposito, who has spoken in an interview with Gold Derby about playing Moff Gideon and the future of the character. He teases that there's so much unknown about his character, but trust Jon Favreau has big plans for him. In the interview, he stated that he thinks there's a Force-related backstory to Gideon that involves the Jedi in some way. Esposito further commented on how his character draws influence from Darth Vader and how this aspect is going to play a role further on in the show. On the subject of where the Mandalorian is headed, like other Star Wars fans, he wonders why Moff Gideon is so interested in Grogu. He even admits we don't really have a definitive answer yet. Now, Giancarlo has always been one of the most fascinating actors on The Mandalorian when he talks about his character. He's just so passionate and that's what I love about him. He really gets into the mindset of Moff Gideon and his character is such an underrated villain. Obviously, at the end of The Mandalorian Season 2, he was knocked out by Cara Dune and taken prisoner under the New Republic. His future is yet to be determined, but as Esposito says, with Gideon, history repeats itself. So now guys, we have two big cast announcements for the Andor series. The first one is Ben Mendelsohn, who played Krennic in Rogue One. Well, he is back for the Disney Plus series and this is really exciting for all Imperial fans. With filming well underway in the UK for the Disney Plus series Andor, excitement is mounting up. The show is going to follow Diego Luna's character in the early days of the Rebel Alliance, weaving his way through scum and villainy years before he meets his robotic companion K2SO. Several set photos and videos have teased tidbits about Andor's mysterious story, including the return of shore troopers from the planet Scarif and new spaceships that will debut in the show. But now yet another member of the Rogue One cast is going to come back for the Andor series, and we're talking about Krennic. According to the direct, Rogue One's Ben Mendelsohn is going to reprise the role as Orson Krennic. Though it's unknown how involved Mendelsohn's Krennic is going to be in Andor, the show being set during the rebellion's relative infancy could indicate the character will also be early on in his career. There's a good chance the Imperial is going to be without his director title, having to work his way up in the Imperial ranks. The big question is, could Mendelsohn's return also warrant an appearance of Mads Mikkelsen's Galen Erso? The two have a history in the Empire together, with Krennic eventually getting his old friend to come aboard, working on the Death Star. Perhaps the show could tackle the lead up to this partnership, tracking the development process that went into the Empire's iconic space station. Andor could also draw from Krennic's appearances in other Star Wars media, including the novel Catalyst, a Rogue One novel. In the book, Krennic interrogates Poggle the Lesser and convinces him to use Geonosians as a workforce to construct the Death Star. This flashback would also please Clone Wars and prequels fans. And the second very big piece of Andor news is that Forrest Whitaker is coming back to play Saw Gerrera. Essentially, it means that this character has appeared in Rebels, Jedi Fallen Order, The Bad Batch, Rogue One, The Clone Wars, and now Andor. It was Stellan Skarsgård who inadvertently admitted that he's in the show when he spoke about a juicy scene that he's recently filmed with Forrest Whitaker. This all took place on Swedish radio, so we definitely have some really big characters from Rogue One and other parts of the Star Wars universe coming into Andor. Bear in mind, guys, it was also rumoured that Fulcrum or Ahsoka is going to appear in the show, and Obi-Wan Kenobi might be making a cameo as well. So we truly have so much to look forward to. Finally, guys, we're going to be taking a look at some concept art which was shared by Pablo Hidalgo. Regardless of what you think about the man, he shared some concept art which shows how a lot of elements from the sequel trilogy originated with George Lucas in the originals. So the first one is the Canto Bight Police from episode 8, and this was inspired by concept art for Royal Guards for Return of the Jedi. And the second one is the most interesting one. The throne room of Palpatine on Exegol in The Rise of Skywalker originated with concept art for episode 6. But what do you guys think, and what did you make of all of today's news? If you guys enjoyed it, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you're new, hit the join button, my Patreon link is also down below, and tell me your thoughts about the upcoming series. What do you expect from Andor, the Book of Boba Fett, the Mandalorian, and so on? It's such a great time to be a Star Wars fan, and I can't wait for everything coming our way. Also guys, just a quick reminder, if you've not seen my full episode breakdown for The Bad Batch episode 7, do check that out, it's on my channel. Otherwise, I'm Star Wars Meg, wishing you all a phenomenal rest of the day, no matter where you dwell in the galaxy. Have a good one.